Alrighty, folks, are you ready to rock? I'm so pumped for today. It is good to see all of you. Welcome in, welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Voodoo Val, and I am going to be your host today for another episode of CreaTips. And I'm super pumped about this episode because I get to feature my friend Doc Reed, who is absolutely fabulous, and in the chat. So definitely click on his name, take a look at what he's got, and give him a follow on social media and all that good stuff. I think it's going to be a blast today. We are going to be diving into our question of the day, which is how do I achieve better compositions in my illustration? And this is a really fun one because we'll dive into Doc's epic advice and things, his CreaTips for today. But I have to say, this is one of those episodes where I feel like I really learned a lot myself. And I'm going to be a little vulnerable today, and I'm going to apply my brand new knowledge from Doc and kind of create something new for you folks. And I hope that you will help me. So one and two things actually before we get started. We do have some downloadable stuff for you today. We have a grid template, a compositional grid template, which is like a remixable template with some basic information, which you can check out in Adobe Express with the link below. We also have some downloadable assets from Doc Reed himself, and it is possible that that folder might show up empty for you for some reason. So I am actually going to supply the mods with a quick link via Dropbox just in case, because I want to make sure that all of you folks can actually download that during our show today. So I'm going to pop over in my top secret message system here and send a link to Wade, I believe, who is our mod. Wade, if you want to click that link and just make sure you can see, there should be 3 items in there, 2 of which are folders with grids, and make sure that works, because I want to make sure everyone can snag those grids which Doc has created for us and use them in their work and create something along with us today. So we will have that, and then, no problem, Wade, top secret message system. Yes, indeed. And then we are going to dive into a few words from Doc. So I am going to take the music down a little bit, and we're going to pop over here and see what Doc has to say about how to achieve better compositions in your illustration. So let's see what he's got going on.
Hey everyone, I'm Doc Reed, and I'm here with another CreaTip question of the day. Today's question is, how do I achieve better compositions within my illustrations? The short answer is be intentional. The longer answer is that we're going to use grids. You may have heard of the rule of thirds, the golden section, or the Fibonacci spiral. Yes? No? Maybe? Look them up. Today we'll check out something a little bit more free-flowing for all you artists that don't like to follow the rules. I know you're out there. It's called Dynamic Symmetry. And basically that's a fancy way of saying we're going to visually link things around our composition with implied lines. If you've spent any time in design circles or in art, you've probably seen somebody lay over a golden ratio or some sort of compositional grid over a logo or a master sculptor, painter. Usually this is to confirm that the masters were brilliant. They were maybe more intentional about the way that they arranged and composed their images. So are grids solely for fine artists? Nope. I'm going to prove it to you by using a still from this amazing cartoon. You may have heard of it. It's called What's Opera Doc. So here in the still of What's Opera Doc, we have Bugs Bunny. If we start drawing some diagonal lines to set up our dynamic symmetry, we start to see some things unfold. There is nothing happening in the dead center of the illustration, but once we start dividing and subdividing the sections, we start to see some pretty interesting things happen. Like I love how Bugs' leg shoots across and points directly at that pillar. Same thing with this Breaking Bad. Here's the original grid, laid it out, then built the colors and shapes around it, forcing some features of the face to align with these grids. That wraps up today's tip. I can't wait to see you apply the grid to your own work and see how that improves your own composition and the way you think about the page. That's all, folks.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Doc. I'm going to pop right back over here real quick so all of you can see me. We're going to turn our music back on. So yeah, I really appreciate you, first of all, Doc, sharing this information with us. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Number one, I am predominantly a painter and illustrator, as many of you folks know. But for me personally, I don't use a lot of grids when it comes to laying out illustrations, because I am somebody who felt like you're only supposed to use grids like if you're painting an environment or something, and like seeing how you really put a lot of these grids into perspective, I realized that I could be taking advantage of grids to work on my own pieces, like character illustration and portraits and things like that. So I'm really excited to dive in. You'll have to give me a grade on this, Doc, after our show, but I'm gonna pop over real quick and kind of show you folks what I've got going on, and then we'll dive into some ideas from the chat, because we could, instead of using one of the sketches I've prepared today, we could actually snag some ideas from you folks and create something wacky. So I'm gonna pop over here to my my cam screen. If you guys want to check out the remixable template in Express, it looks a little something like this. You can snag that template and just check out some of the information I have in there. But I have one of the grids from our downloadable stuff with Doc prepared here in our little file already, and what I will show first of all is a few of these sketches which I have done. So I chose this one because this one felt like the grid that I could most like compute, especially as somebody who is not used to using grids and really planning things out. And I tried to really use the reference that you showed us, Doc, for doing the portrait of the of Hank from Breaking Bad, which excellent piece, by the way, an excellent choice of subject matter. And I did a couple of sketches. So the first one that I did, they're actually more like full body illustrations rather than portraits, but I started playing around. I was like, well, what if I painted like some kind of mermaid, and how would I line those things up, and how would different elements of this piece kind of align with certain points on this grid, and certain, you know, her body parts kind of aligning with certain lines. And I realized when this was my first test, when I actually sat down and used the grid to like lay out a piece, it was way more intentional, and the composition itself came out, I think, so much better than it would have if I had just sketched on a blank canvas, because I really the whole time was kind of thinking about keeping everything that I want to show, like with my subject, within the frame, not too small but not too far away from the edges. I was also thinking about interesting poses for her tail and things, and while this is just, you know, kind of an S-curve, I feel like kind of bringing these points of her tail up to this point, and having certain bends in her mermaid's tail kind of bisect like a point and then a midway point of another line in the grid, and then come in like kind of swirl around this point, was really interesting as far as how it ended up coming together. So I really did like this sketch. I think my favorite one, however, was I did like a flying warrior kind of guy, and I was thinking in my head that this would eventually be like sort of an Art Deco-esque piece with like really cool decals and designs in the corners. And while this sketch is very, very rough, that's also another important point for today's show. I wanted to show my super rough, messy, garbage sketches, because I also like to be a little bit transparent about that. Most of my sketches are terrifying low-key when I first begin. I swear that I know how to draw and paint, but this is what the first steps look like for me. It is not great all the way through. And so I have like this guy, you know, with his hair kind of blowing in the wind, and he's actually, if I can grab, I'm gonna grab a red color and kind of highlight here what really is happening, so that you can see my plans and my thought process here is that, like, this is the bottom of his rib cage here, and he's got like a shoulder here and a shoulder over here, and his waist kind of dips down below here, and the groin area then comes into like his hips and his knees, which are really like kind of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like tucked underneath him, you know, like there's a knee, and then that's a knee as well. I promise you, it's a knee. And then like the tip of one foot, and he's got, you know, his arms up, and he's got like this cool staff, you know, some kind of cool thing. And then he's got these like wings, which I began to align. I was like, okay, this is the kind of like super ambitious piece that I would feel totally lost creating, you know. But when I think about like what can I do with these grids, I really was like, okay, let me hide this real quick and just highlight the wings. His wing comes down and around, and I knew that I wanted to have like this radial splay of wings, but using this grid I was like, well, this is the center point here, so one of these feathers is gonna like really follow that center point, and then not only is there like a center point feather here, there's also this diagonal line that's like, you know, perfectly across the center. My wings can align to that. And then I can just kind of paint in, you know, these other like sort of radial feather designs. And I realized that having it positioned like that and following that grid started to make it look so much more dynamic than I feel I otherwise would have thrown it in there without the grid. And I did the same thing here. So you can see there's a line here that bisects as well, and I figure, you know, his other wing will come around and he'll have a feather following that, and a feather, you know, maybe following the diagonal point in that, and just kind of continue it out, and then you have like this nice flow to this other wing, which is also, if I grab like a green color, it's also very parallel here. So he has like this nice open spot, and then while certain elements are following those lines in these directions, I have, you know, his weapon, which is like very prominently displayed, kind of crossing, almost to give a sort of X down the center. And I like it. I really like it. I feel very confident with this one, and what it could become. So that is kind of my my first adventure in a long while into the world of using grids. So I love it. Oh, so dynamic. Yes, indeed, Penny Doodles. I love how the hand and knee tail link up. Yeah, so one of the things that I was thinking about doing, I will grab my red again. This right here, I was thinking like he might have some kind of like Roman-esque, armored skirt kind of thing, you know, in like a radial pattern here, and then maybe there are tassels, like 2 tassels that could come out, just kind of fly out with the movement of him, and perhaps circle around this. So then you have like this circling motion here, you've got one tassel pointing at it, you've got his toe, which will be pointing at it, you've got a wing feather, which will be pointing at like this central point right there, which I thought, you know, could be really interesting. So I really put, you know, a lot of thought into how this might go, and I believe that this is something that I will definitely be employing a lot more in the future, as we make our way. So I would really like, if I get to choose, I will probably go honestly today with working on sketch number 2. I'm very excited to be able to do an illustration episode as well, because I don't get an opportunity to start from sketch and just hang out and paint with you guys a lot. So this is pretty cool, especially in my own style. I feel like most of the time I'm illustrating here, I'm using a more simple style because of time constraints, and doing like cute chibi characters instead of like my personal gritty semi-realism style. But the point of today is not necessarily to finish a piece, but to begin executing a painting according to these new guidelines. So yeah, Jonathan, so definitely I hope you all have downloaded the grids as well, and you should snag one of those, kind of go through, take a peek, and throw one of those into a doc document either in Photoshop, Fresco. I actually started these sketches in Fresco, so you can definitely download them and add them to your camera roll on your iPad and throw them into Fresco or Photoshop or whatever it is that you use, and draw something with me. So I am gonna kind of want to do this one, but does anybody have any ideas? Like, if I go ahead and hide this and we decide that we're going to create a Adobe Live exclusive print, what kind of thing would you guys like to see? Keep in mind, I am a dark fantasy artist. I like things spooky, or at the very least magical, but if you guys have some magical ideas, I will definitely try to put one together. And this would be the point of the show, which I said earlier is going to be a little bit vulnerable, but I feel like it's really important to show. Like, I don't remember the last time that I started a semi-realism painting for all of you folks live on the show without beginning from a sketch. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you all the nitty-gritty sketches and steps that we go through for all this. Couldn't miss tips from one of my fave artists. Thanks for sharing. You guys are so cute. Friendship in the chat. I'm thinking I will just like kind of start throwing ideas down here. I did a mermaid. And I did like I don't know, like a griffin warrior man, like a bird humanoid kind of guy. It could be cool to do some kind of like lizard guy. A lizard guy could be cool. Let's see it. Wade, I know you have some ideas. A lizard man could be cool. Honestly, a wizard could be sick. A wizard could be sick. Alternatively, a witch. But knowing me, this witch is definitely going to have to be like a necromancer. I might like this one. I might like I'm super biased, but I might like that one. I might actually start sketching a necromancer. That might have to happen. I will say one of my very first steps when it comes to beginning a painting, which you all should do, is I look up reference. I have like a massive database of reference folders and things on Pinterest, which I actually have up on my other monitor over here, just so that I can really take a look at, number one, other art for inspiration and motivation, and maybe color palettes and stuff, and atmosphere, like how do I want to portray whatever it is that I'm painting. But definitely make sure as you move into your illustration that you use a few pieces of real life reference. You want to definitely make sure that you're referencing fact in your piece, even if it's fantasy, even if you're starting to paint a necromancer, or as Wade has just suggested, a swamp hag. Let's go ahead and put that in there. Very, very powerful type of necromancer. You definitely want to reference real life, because your art is your interpretation of the world around you. And if you only use a reference of other people's artwork, your artwork is not that anymore. It then becomes your interpretation of someone else's interpretation of the world. And so you want to make sure that if you do reference other artwork, those things are for inspiration. Those things are for perhaps dissecting the technique of that artist. Like I said earlier, how that artist utilized certain colors to create a certain atmosphere, stuff like that. But you don't usually want to only have other artwork as your reference unless you're doing a master study. Skeletal Jester, Wendigo, Lizard Wizard Mancer. Okay, you guys are coming up with some good stuff. I'm going to start just drawing like a character here, and we're going to see what it kind of transforms into. Maybe we can add a bunch of stuff. So I'm looking at a lot of gesture reference, and I'm just going to kind of see about what it would look like if our subject was like over on the side here, and how we could kind of bring the rest of it over here to kind of balance it in a way. And I'm thinking that perhaps it might be cool if, let's not do it like all the way over to that left-hand side. Let's do something where our character is like here, you know? And we could have like a kind of a pose. That's a neck. This is definitely a face. We could kind of have those eyes aligned here. We could also maybe not zoom it out so much. Let's go ahead and duplicate that. I just duplicated it with Control J or Command J if you're using a Mac. And we could kind of maybe slot this here. And what I could do is I could tilt that eye right there, and we'll have, you know, something like that could be interesting. I'm just gonna let it be sketchy. And we could do some kind of hood and have this hood kind of follow this line. Do some kind of hood here and then kind of bring that down and kind of end it there with some hair. This is hair. See, this is hair spilling out here, which could be really cool. And I was thinking what might be neat is if we did like some subtle background atmosphere, so we could have like a moon out there in the swamp, and then we could have some, you know, hanging trees, because this is supposed to be like some kind of swamp. This is how you paint hanging trees, like those Louisiana hanging moss from the trees kind of vibe. That's what that is. And I dare you to question it. But that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like when I start this. So we got that going on. Something that could be cool is we've got these two dots here, so it might be interesting to have like arms crossed along that, you know, kind of bring that out that way. And then we have a line here, so we could do like maybe part of the cloak kind of goes that way. And then this side will just kind of continue down here. And we'll have like our character right in there. And we can do some other kind of stuff. We could do a horizon line up here, which could be interesting. And this could be filled with all manner of shrubbery and foliage and stuff like that, which could be interesting. And you know what? I feel like if I had not used the grid, I don't know that I would have been so intentional as far as where I was placing all this stuff. And I think that's really the beauty of it, is like I just did, you know, like kind of a cool pose for like a hooded witch character. And maybe it's not as intricate as you could be using the grids, but I feel like I wasn't lost at any point in it. And maybe that could be your main takeaway, is as you use these grids, you don't feel like you're floundering and don't know where to go or what to do as you begin to place it. So I kind of like it. Bring me a shrubbery. Kelly, are you with the Knights of Nith? Is that what you're telling me? Grandmother willow type trees. That willow trees are my favorite kind of trees. Mermaid, Sith Lord, Necromancer. Stop telling me all the things I love, guys. I can only paint so much in a day. We've got about a half hour left here, so a lightsaber to finish the masterpiece. We might have to hide a lightsaber, like a non-activated, non-ignited lightsaber hanging on her belt, is probably something we could do. Kelly gets it. I will lurk. Awesome, Robert. It's good to see you, by the way. Sukosma, thanks for joining, old friend. Now redraw all that, but faster. Well, that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. Because my process goes a little something like this. I do a horrifying sketch, and then I continue to lay layers over the top of that as I decide, you know, now I've got things placed, but we have to give this person a face. We got to give this person a look, you know? So how are we going to do this? I am partial to making this witch more attractive than she probably ought to be, because I like the idea of like a girl boss witch living in the swamp. But I don't know if that's what you guys were thinking of when we said like swamp hag necromancer. So we'll see. I think maybe I'll just, for now, I'll just place some eyes or whatever. I was gonna put the nose over here, but now I'm thinking, like, what if part of her face is covered by the hood? Yeah? What if part of her face is covered and this hood, you know, like, comes over like that, right? And this is the side of her face with, like, part of it obscured. And she's, like, looking that way. That could be cool. I like the idea of her having, maybe hair like mine, but then she has, like, dreadlocks mixed in. Fun fact, I had dreadlocks for like 5 years. I had locks for a while there, and I used to put, like, beads and stuff in my locks. I had, like, trinkets. I had witch locks for a long time. And then sometimes when I paint, I am very self-conscious about kind of how I start to form the face. So typically what I do is I don't really know where to put the eye without making it look derpy just yet, because I haven't really felt that vibe. So I put, like, this little diamond shape for, like, the underneath of the nose, like from the tip of the nose to the top of the, you know, the where the nose meets the lip. I know there's a name for that, but I don't remember. And then to the width of the nostrils. So, like, there could be nostrils under here. And that kind of tells me where the nose goes up from. And then I'll put the eyebrow in, and then I'll do, like, this line kind of like that, which is just the crease there where, okay, this is where the corner of the eye would be. And then it would, like, you know, maybe a wrinkle or some kind of, like, grimace or smile line, you know, kind of goes there from the corner of the eye, and then, you know, that nasolabial fold there by the nostril. So you can kind of start to figure out, okay, the eye is going to be, like, right in there. I also like to do, so this is the bottom of the nose, yeah, and there's probably going to be some shadow, so I just do, like, a triangle for shadow. And that triangle will lead me to the Cupid's bow of the lip. And if that's where that Cupid's bow is going to be, then this is probably where the corner of the mouth is going to be. And if that is true, then the underneath of that lip is probably going to have a shadow right there or something, right? So you can start to kind of, like, really build that out, and then I'll kind of bring the cheekbone out. So that is our witch's head. That's our witch's face. And I like it. It is still quite messy, but, you know, you got to start somewhere, right? Without a battery, it's a dark saber. Yeah. Secret lightsaber, like, hidden. Yeah, it's gonna be hidden totally. Let's complete Charm Satchel. Would you? Yes, I will complete Charm Satchel. In fact, I can tell you right now that the very next item for Charm's Satchel is called the Scrying Clam. And for those of you who know what scrying is, all my witchy folks in the chat with the scrying knowledge, Charm carries with her, Charm is my little witch character, my little witch OC. Charm carries with her a great deal of magical items because it's an obsession of hers. And one of the things that she has is a clam that opens up so that she can, like, look into it. Like, she can't have a cell phone because this is, like, the weird underrealm fantasy terrible magic place. So she has a scrying clam where she can see stuff and communicate, you know, so... alright, so there's, like, a, you know, part of her hood, and she needs a shoulder up here. My goodness. Eventually, it'll be up there. Let's kind of make that a little bit larger. Let's give this a little more body here. I think that's what we need, a little more body. We could also bring the face down. I can kind of select a little, ooh, that's the polygonal lasso tool. Hold on. Let me reselect something else. Boom, boom. I'll bring that down here, I think. And we could put it, like, right on that line. Boom. All right. We're gonna leave it. This is a hand. That's an index finger right there. And this little block is the rest of the fingers with the pinky out because she is fancy. And there's the hand, and there's the wrist, and there's the arm disappearing around the edge of what will be an elbow. That's an elbow. And then the forearm of that arm is gonna come right up here, and she'll tuck her hand in there. Very anatomically correct at the moment, I swear. But she's got that going on. This is definitely gonna have to go up into like shoulder. Her head is still like really, really small up there. So there we go. There we go. And that's actually, let's see, the corner of that grid is like right here. I wonder what would happen if we tipped her head just to kind of meet that point. I don't know that it has to be like uber accurate, but that's where that point would be. We could put like the tip of her eyebrow on it, and let's see if we can do her face shrouded in shadow over here. Kind of get that going on. Yeah. Okay. Got a little of that going on. I kind of dig it. And then she will have a waist. This is like her chest here. And then the bottom of the rib cage. Very loose. A waist with like a thick belt. And that belt has stuff on it. And lightsaber right there. We're gonna hang a lightsaber on her belt right there. And no one but us is gonna know, okay? How will they know? No one will know. And then like kind of goes down into her hips. I feel like we could also kind of widen her little cape, her capelet. And we'll have this, you know, back here, this cape kind of hang down with that line and maybe splay out along the center line of this box a little bit. Maybe she needs to be a little bit wider. Boom. There we go. We'll have a little point of interest here. It could even, instead of being a point of interest, it could even be like the biggest bird in like a flock of bats. It's bats. It could be like the biggest bat in like a flock of bats back here, which honestly is sick. So let's do bats, shall we? We like bats, right? And then we'll have our foliage. Can't forget our foliage. Can't forget our little hangy trees, for sure. Boom. And then honestly, we could also do like some atmospheric fog, kind of creating this sort of thing. Like a boop, 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 you know, like a little oval, so that you can really see like what is the purpose of this painting. What are we showing off? I like it. Among other things, she carries a rolled flying carpet for transportation, or maybe has a Red Bull. That's honestly, I'm cool with having some kind of magical transportation. And if we can't fit it into the painting itself, we could still develop some cool lore for it. Okay, so now what I do is I just group all of my sketch layers, and I turn it on a lower opacity again. But now we've got it planned out a lot better, and we can still see, because my grids are in a separate area, as we lower the opacity, we can still like really see our grids through there. So now we're gonna draw. Now we're gonna draw something a little more solid, and I have two approaches to this that I like to use, and I could either draw it and do like good line art and then paint that in, but I don't trust myself to do enough of that step in the time that we have left, because we have about 20 minutes. So what I might do is actually snag a paintbrush and paint for you guys. I might do that. That might be the way we go. Let me find a good I don't like that brush. Let's come up here. We could use your good old standard hard round. We could also, what is this? Don't mind if I do Photoshop. Okay. What's paint bucket in value? Yeah. Okay. Now let's grab a darker value, which, oops, that should be darker because it's not on a lower opacity. Let's come in here and see what we got, shall we? Go, Val, go! I'm trying! I'm trying. All right, let's see what we can do about this. So this is going to be like in shadow. So I'm going to throw some dark some in there. Yeah? Also, I would like to point out that when I paint, I also ask myself questions out loud like this. That looks good, yeah? It's just me in here, and I'm like, yeah, I think so. So that's gonna be, a lot of this is gonna be, shadowy. There's definitely gonna be some shadow in the corner of the eye there. Let's give her, I'm starting to realize that I've given this character my hair and my eyebrow shape. It might be me. It might be me, but now that I've said that, it's gonna end up not looking like me, and I'm gonna be embarrassed. So we'll just say it's like me, and I'm not gonna try to paint my actual face. It's inspired by myself, I guess. That's what we're gonna say. And I'm just gonna start painting in some vague value here. That already is looking like I already pulled that out of the shadow. I already pulled it out, so that's not bad. I accept this. Let's kind of darken the side of the nose a little bit. Let's put a touch of light. I'm really bad too, by the way, at saying, okay, let's add the shadows and then the highlights. I'm like, let's add the shadow. Boy, wouldn't a highlight look nice here? Better just switch to highlights. Does anybody else do that? But she's kind of smirking, isn't she? I'm good with a witch smirk. I think a witch smirk is acceptable. Let's give her like some really dark eyelids, and let's also give her some dark circles. Oh yeah, look at that. Out of nowhere, it's a face. Almost as if I can draw. Howdy, howdy, what's up, Sam? You do the same thing. Shrouded? Did I say shrouded wrong, or are you just teasing me? There's a whole face on the canvas now. I'm so proud of myself. Because I was scared. Because I'm doing a new thing. Because Doc Reed, by the way, let's talk a little bit more about Doc Reed. Doc Reed is our featured industry speaker today, and if you didn't catch the beginning of the stream, you should definitely check out the VOD, because we had some really great advice and a demo of sorts from Doc Reed, who explained, how to utilize different grids and things when it comes to achieving better compositions within your illustration, which is our question of the day. How do I achieve better compositions within my illustration? And I learned so much just from receiving the assets from Doc for this show. I feel like I sat down this week and I painted things that I had a lot easier time illustrating than I did before I attempted to employ the advice that he shared. So I highly recommend it. Also, if you would like to download the grids and things that Doc has supplied, so you can use the grid that I'm using currently, and you can use other grids which are included. There's a lot of grids in there. You can download them by using the link, which I believe Wade has for us in the chat, and snag it, drop it in your file, start using it. let us know what you create. You could tag me or Doc on social media if you create something with the grids, or you can use the hashtag Adobe Live CreaTips hashtag and kind of share with everybody whatever you make with those grids. Trying to combine shadow and shrouded for my own amusement. I do that sometimes too. You won't catch any shade here for being weird. All right, I kind of opened up this eye a little bit because I feel like it needed to be a little more visible. I'm gonna darken up where these nostrils could be, and I'm gonna take this lighter value here, and I'm gonna kind of paint up in here, and I'm gonna carve out that bottom nostril, add a little more light to the Cupid's bow there on that side, and kind of bring this in as well, because I really want to get the shape of the nose, which I think we can all agree is really starting to slowly come to life. We'll kind of get the side of that nose there and bring that bridge up just a little bit so that it really looks like a nose. And we could even, if we snag a little lighter value here, we could even grab kind of a brighter color there and hit a highlight around that nostril a little bit just to bring it out even more. You know, just kind of pull that out. Shade, nice pun. I'm just teasing y'all. It's good to see you, Alessandra. Thanks for popping in. Also, hello, RB. Did I greet you yet? I don't think I did. All right, so we got that. One thing that I like to do with characters like this is I like to have like a deep, like shadow to that under eye there. I feel like if you live in the swamp and you do magic in the swamp and you chill with gators and any other unusual friends, we'll say that, you definitely would have some dark circles under your eyes. I feel like that's just, you know, that's a character trait you inherit if you spend enough time doing magic in a swamp. But I also like, for female characters, I also like to put like defined eyelashes just on the bottom and make them look kind of wet, you know? I feel like it just makes the eye look sad and scary. I like it. I also think it's cool when instead of your regular pupil and iris, you have just like a milky eye with a glowing pupil. I think that's really cool. I wonder if we could kind of put that up a little bit. Yeah, kind of put that up. So she's like looking up, and then we could take a slightly darker color and like suggest maybe the edge of an iris, but the iris is pretty close to the eye white color. I think that looks pretty neat. I think that looks pretty awesome. I'm proud of me. A little more darkness over here, maybe with a tiny bit of lighter value in there just to suggest that other eye, but I don't think it has to be that defined, really. I really don't. I think we could just kind of slot some value in there and maybe add with this the color of the whites from that first eye and add a glowing pupil in there for the other one, and then really hit it with the shadow. Let's kind of bring that brow ridge in, bring that under eye in, but the fabric would be closer here to the skin than here. There'd be like a little gap, so we'll put more shadow there, and then we'll kind of bring this cheek up a little bit. You kind of brighten that, and then have a very thin dark line. See how that kind of like plays with that distance a little bit. Always scary. I gotta be. It's in the name, y'all. All right. This is cool. I'm so pleased with how this is going. And I'm going to start like really kind of highlighting some of these more important parts because we are supposed to be really highlighting painting on a grid. But I kind of feel like we've started together painting of our bog witch. That's actually pretty cool. that I will probably end up finishing. This could be an Adobe Live exclusive painting of sorts. Alright. She has a whole head. She has a whole face now, y'all. How cool. Alright. Let's throw some shadow. Let's throw some more shadow in here. I'm using pure black, by the way, and I hear you're not supposed to do that. I've heard that. Thing about it is, I think that as long, let's see, there's a lot of reasons to not use pure black in your paintings. And how much time do we have left? Because I will share a little bit. Okay, yeah. I think that there's a lot of reasons that, you know, people say don't use pure black in your paintings. I think one of the main reasons that I hear most often is like black doesn't tend to occur in natural life, and so you should use colors that are closely related to the atmosphere in your painting and things that will look and appear as if they are black without actually being black. And I think that is pretty accurate. But I think also that certain styles lend themselves to pure solid black being really necessary and enhancing the piece. And I like to paint like dark fantasy stuff, and I spent a lot of time feeling guilty about using pure black in my work because everybody said you shouldn't do that. So here's my rule of thumb when it comes to using black. What I think is what you should pay attention to and what should be important when it comes to making that decision. I think that if your painting looks better with pure black in it, you should use pure black so long as you're not using that pure black to hide things you don't know how to paint. That's my rule of thumb, because hiding things in the blackness that you don't know how to paint only hurts you, and you should take some time to learn how to paint that thing you're struggling to paint. But if you know how to paint that thing, like I know how to paint a neck, and I can come in and suggest more detail here so that everything connects and looks the way it's supposed to eventually. But if I was using this to cover up stuff that I don't understand, or as an excuse to not improve, which, you know, if you're using black to hide certain things, you're probably not thinking in your head, like, this is an excuse not to paint this thing. But, like, think about it. Do you know how to paint that thing that's shrouded in shadow, or are you putting that pure blackness there to mask the fact that there's nothing there? This is different than Impressionism, than being impressionistic with your art, because Impressionism, you are making strokes to suggest things to the eyes of your viewers without actually painting it. And there is a way to do that that doesn't mean that you're hiding stuff in shadow. I'm doing a lot of just scribble scrabble like this, but I believe it's beginning to look like the kind of hair texture that I have. Because I'm not going to paint every strand of hair here. It's just not going to happen. You'd have to you'd have to give me a job specifically paying for me to paint hair like mine. Because as somebody with this hair, I can tell you it's difficult. It's difficult. It's very intricate. And I would never agree, even for myself. So definitely not for a client to paint every single strand of hair like this. So I'm gonna impress upon my viewers with various textures and levels of value that the character has hair like this, and they will feel that. But I don't think that's not the same thing as hiding. There's a distinct difference. Spending time in with the uncomfortable is the only way out. Yes, that is a perfect way to say it. You know, if you spend time with some of the concepts and things that you find to be uncomfortable, the things that you shy away from in your work, I think that is an excellent way to improve, and sometimes, as Doc said, it's the only way out. And I can't tell you how many times I've been relieved when I finally sat down and learned how to do a certain thing. And then, you know what? I still use that pure black to obscure stuff. I still do. It just looks way better now. Because it's not hiding the fact that I can't paint a character's neck. It's just a neck hidden in shadow. And they're different. They're different. All right. Does anybody have any questions for today? I feel I have the same hair. You know. I will come back and kind of detail it a little bit more later, because what I want to do is really start to add some other things to this in our last, how much time? Oh, we got about 4 minutes. I kind of spent most of the time on this face, but I got a whole painting planned out, and we went over some pretty cool sketches. We got a lot of stuff done. I feel like she looks horrifying, but I like it. This is my kind of thing. And I think I'm going to finish this, and I'm going to post it for all of you guys to see. I hope that if anybody jumped in and used a lot of the grids and things that we got from our good friend Doc Reed today, that you folks will tag us both on social media with whatever you post, or use the CreaTips hashtag, Adobe Live CreaTips, to share with us, because I know that Doc would love to see what you create, and so would I. I also would love to invite you all to message me anytime if you have any questions about anything that we have gone over during the episodes. And one last thing, let me double check something here, because I don't believe our day is over today. No, we have our Twitch stream coming up right after this, so we are gonna head over to Twitch, which I hope that you folks will follow and give us a follow over on Twitch if you have not already. We've got our Twitch show coming up after this, so the day's not over. We got more design creative goodness coming up after CreaTips today, and I think our sign off will be, how much time do we have left? Yeah, we got about 2 minutes. I think our sign off will be that it has been an absolute blast hanging out with you folks today, illustrating and learning new things, experimenting with grids. If you folks have not already, please do give Doc Reed a follow on social media. Check out his website and all that good stuff, and see his work. You will be amazed and astonished. He is such an incredible and talented creative. I just know that you'll love his work that he's doing. He just got done doing an excellent 36 days of type, which is incredible and so fun to just browse through and see all the wonderful stuff he's created. So definitely give his latest project a look-see. And I will see you around the bend, folks. I will see you actually next week. I'll see you next week for some Adobe Express stuff, but that is all the time I have for you today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Kelly, thank you for joining. Wade, thank you for moderating. Give Wade a follow too. Afroja, Umacorn, Robert, all of you friends and Adobe Live family, it was good to see you today, and I will catch you next time. Adios, folks.